Hello and welcome to another anime discussion. Today we'll be taking a look at one of the biggest debates regarding the popular shonen battle series Yu Yu Hakusho. In particular, we'll be talking about who is the better villain, younger Toguro or Shinobu Sensui. There are many menacing and complicated villains in Hakusho, and these two are always the highest ranked and most discussed. Naturally, the ultimate question would be, which is the better villain? Now, these two are often listed as some of the best villains in shonen and even all of anime, so they both have something to offer. First, we will look at their backstories and motivations, their presence and importance to the series, and ultimate relation to the heroes. Alright, let's dive in. Naturally, there will be some spoilers ahead. First, let's take Toguro. Many years before, Toguro was the head of a dojo and martial artist, along with his lover and Yusuke's future teacher Genkai. However, when a demon attacked his dojo, the demon murdered all of Togoro's students and friends, leading to his participation in the Dark Tournament. After winning the tournament, Toguro became so warped by the experience that he wished to eliminate any weakness within himself. He and his brother became demons to gain the demonic powers and near immortality. He then made a career by working with the mafia-like Black Club to ensnare demons for their evil purposes. Upon discovering Yusuke and his friends, he takes an interest due to Yusuke's power when he and Kuwabara rescue Hiei's sister. He then forced Yusuke to enter the tournament both for Sakyo's overall plan and his own desire to test a worthy opponent, seeing it as the primary purpose for his life at this point. He threatens Yusuke by stating he will destroy everything in Yusuke's life before eventually killing him. Their eventual battle culminates after the apparent murder of both Yusuke's teacher Genkai and his best friend Kuwabara by Togoro's hands. This leads to an intense battle with Yusuke being victorious. Toguro expresses after his death that he had become corrupted by a desire for power, a fear of death, and a desire for vengeance. His guilt over the deaths of his companions led him to near insanity with grief, and he planned to meet his end by Yusuke's hands. Essentially, Yusuke was put in the same position, but did not give in to the desire for power or vengeance. Toguro was extremely intimidating. He was calm, cool, and collected, and rarely ever displayed emotion, though when he did it was usually not a good sign. He was a good foil for Yusuke due to his mysterious demeanor and sheer size. He was also a very conflicted villain, having been overcome by his lust for power, but still maintaining a sense of honor, working for money, and not usually killing unnecessarily. In a warped way, he was trying to improve Yusuke. This strange relationship is a consistent element in many of Togashi's villains. Much like his arc, Toguro is a well-structured character who seems pretty straightforward, but has some underlying complexities within him. Now we shall discuss Sensui. Long before Yusuke was a spirit detective, Sensui was his predecessor. Not only that, he was one of the best. One of the most distinctive attributes was his clearly defined sense of right and wrong. He saw himself as a defender of humanity and an apprehender and slayer of demons. However, upon breaking into the headquarters of the mafia-like Black Club, he saw these criminals, humans, engaging in the torture of helpless demons for the pure pleasure of it. This sight caused Sensui's mind to snap, and his idea of justice was completely unraveled along with his sanity. He then began a plan to recruit other like-minded humans with psychic powers and open the barrier between the human realm and the demon realm. He believed that humanity was truly deprived and deserved to be punished. Of course, this led to his encounter with Yusuke and the others. After a series of battles, including kidnapping Kuwabara to use his abilities and essentially killing Yusuke, Sensui nearly destroyed the world. Thankfully, Yusuke's friends held him off long enough for the hero to return and take down the former defender of humanity. Much like Toguro, Sensui is a very conflicted soul, even more so perhaps, as he has several personalities to help him cope with the revelation of humanity's darkness. He's also very charismatic and manipulative, preying on those weaker than he to draw others to him like the leader of some demented cult. He's also a great foil for Yusuke, since he held the same position and was arguably better suited for the role, due to a much more honorable point of view than the street-tough Yusuke. His inner conflict is truly one of self-loathing, as he hates humanity as he hates himself for being one. Ironically, his rigid philosophy is most likely what led to his inability to cope with the horrors of his duties. He also has grander desires than Toguro, masterminding a near genocide and doing it for what he believes to be a truly holy cause. Like Toguro, he also partially motivated the heroes to eventually kill him, to some degree being aware of the monster he became. Sensui is perhaps more frightening in that he is totally human, and his evil nature was completely devoid of any demonic influence. In addition, it's his hatred of humanity and his perverted sense of justice that make him an intriguing and threatening force for Yusuke to overcome. Both of these villains have been ranked as some of the best, and most would agree that the choice would be a close one. Both of them are so well written that this should be expected. However, I do have to choose, and it is a close call, but I would have to say I think Toguro is a slightly better villain. While I will admit his motivations are a little more cliché, he does have a better established backstory to explain them. I would also say that Sensui and Toguro are equal in terms of menace, but I think Toguro is slightly more intimidating. There are several reasons for this. First, obviously, there's the character design. Toguro is massive, and his demonic transformation is simply horrific, clearly showing the lack of humanity remaining. He's also strangely obsessed with Yusuke, seeing him as both a challenge and prey, and hoping he could corrupt someone he saw very reminiscent of himself as a younger man. When he confronts Yusuke after their first fight, that scene where he threatens to destroy everyone in his life, one by one, is one of the most intimidating moments in all of anime for me. Also, in terms of pushing the hero, Toguro is connected to his teacher and mentor Genkai. After seeming to kill her in addition to his best friend, this builds on the classic idea of the hero getting revenge. This is furthered by Genkai helping Yusuke to defeat her former lover by sharing secrets she never would have shared with Toguro. Also, Togoro's repentant nature and ultimate transformation is evident of his internal struggle to retain his honorable roots. The dynamic between him and Yusuke just works so great. This is particularly due to the build-up over the arc. Now, Sensui is a rather complex villain too, by the standards of an action series, but his backstory is not as fleshed out. My favorite thing about Sensui is his charisma. However, Yusuke just wasn't as intimidated by him. There are some other issues, the biggest one being a plot issue rather than a character one, but it does play a big factor. Sensui is essentially a retread of Toguro. Really, if you take away the charismatic gentlemanly persona and the split personalities, some of which are never developed, you have essentially the same character. Like Toguro, Sensui was a force for good who was corrupted and gave into his darker natures. They also were involved in a plot to unleash demons onto the world, though admittedly, Sensui wished this out of hatred, while Toguro went along with Sakyo's plan, more out of indifference since he cared for no one and lived purely for the thrill of combat. Also, both were connected to the former teachers and held grudges against them, using Yusuke as revenge with Sensui to Koenma and Toguro to Genkai respectively. Also, both went after someone Yusuke cared for, though Toguro already seemed to up the ante by killing two rather than simply kidnapping one. It's easy to see Sensui as more complex, but I would argue that Togoro's complexity is simply more subtle. Though motivations are more cliché, they are better explained. Also, Sensui is essentially a redesigned and tweaked retread of Toguro, and since his motivations are mostly on the table, he's not as interesting. However, both of these villains are great, and I can understand if someone thinks Sensui is better, but I do think Toguro is equally deserving of the title. Well, that was my take on the Toguro-Sensui debate. Let me know what you guys think and give me any requests for future videos. Check out my anime collab group, The Phantom Group, for anime discussions, and my podcast, Film Fanatics, for movie reviews. Alright guys, Merlin out. Peace.